Welcome everyone. And this course is mainly concentrated on REST API, test design, and automation. So, in this, we'll be purely concentrating on how to test any RESTful API in both how to test it in manual and how to test it using automation tools, right? So, we'll talk about it. So, before everything, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Venkat, and I'm currently working in one of the product-based company in Bangalore as a technical lead, and I have overall 11 years of experience in both automation as well as in DevOps. Okay, so I love teaching, and that's the main reason which is pushing me to help other students in sharing my knowledge. And I hope you get benefit through this course. It could be the either in terms of finding a new job with a better hike, or if you want to help your organization with automating your APIs. So in both the way you'll get benefit through this course. And let's get into the topic. So coming to the agenda throughout the course. So this is my agenda. So first, today I don't take much time because I'll just give you overview about the course and what are the different topics that we cover and what is the duration and what is the daily class times and everything. And then I'll give a brief introduction about what is API, how the API got evolved, and what exactly we have to test, what are the tools available in the market, which tools that I will be selected for this course, and why I have selected those tools. So we will discuss those topics, and then from Monday we will get into the basics, we'll understand them, and then we'll do the test design and as well as automation for RESTful APIs. Okay, and this is our roadmap. So first, I'll make you comfortable in understanding what is an API and how I should test the APIs. What should be the test design approach? So under this test design approach, I'll be talking about concepts like what exactly we have to test in the APIs, what are the different challenges. Previously, you might have experience on automating or testing the UI based applications using Chrome, Firefox, or it could be mobile based applications. But those are all will have UI, but APIs will not have any UI. So it's all backend services. So how your test design approach changes from UI to non-UI tools. And also to automate, we have chosen a Java based library. For that, you need to aware some of the essential concepts in Java. You don't need to you don't need to have any background in Java. We will be teaching the basic concepts which anybody can understand. Okay, just one quick minute, guys. Yeah. So as I was saying, you don't need to completely aware of the Java concepts to become an automation tester, but you need few essential topics which I have explicitly listed, and I'll be teaching you throughout the week so that you get comfortable in programming language. Even though you don't have any programming knowledge at all, you'll be able to understand the concepts and write your own code as a test. Okay, and once you're comfortable with Java, then I will be explaining about the REST assured library. This is one of the automation test library that we have. If you already aware of Selenium, so Selenium is an open source library for UI automation. Same, we have REST assured library for API automation. So once you know the core concepts of the test design and as well as the REST assured library, you are good to upgrade to the framework concepts. How, I mean, this will be a plain test, but a good test will always have a better framework around it to increase the reusability. So I'll be teaching you the framework concepts and the best practices that you have to follow in terms of test data management in terms of how you can make a request, and how you can validate the response, all of that, how to share the reports, how to create the dynamic reports and share with your manager or test lead. So those concepts will be covering here. Finally, the end state of any test application will be, it should be part of your CI/CD pipeline, meaning whenever developer commits his code, the test should automatically trigger. Your job should be just preparing those tests and just push your test cases to the repository, and the pipeline should take care of executing and promoting your build to the next level automatically. So how that happens also we will discuss in the last stage of the course. Okay, so this is the roadmap, starting from a layman to the advanced API automation tester. Your roadmap will be clear, and you'll be uh, achieving the goals step by step, not in a mixed or a complex way, in a very easy and straightforward manner. That's the reason why I have designed it as a 4-week course, so that we can explain more in terms of practical rather than theoretical. And even I'll be giving you the tasks for every 2-3 sessions, one task. So if you complete the task, you will get a good hands on. Okay, so that's about the roadmap. Does anybody has any questions here in the journey? Okay, I'll take that as a no. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about an API for a minute. So the basic definition of an API is application programming interface, and why they called it as a programming interface we'll discuss now. Okay, this all started with our whole software world is started with a client server architecture, isn't it? So there will be a client. It could be your mobile phone, or it could be your browser, or it could be a kiosk in the bank. It could be anything that receives the information, right? And there will be a server somewhere sitting in the company's on premise or on cloud, which processes your request, and it will give you the proper response to your request, and your need will be fulfilled. This is an architecture for most of the applications that we have seen, right? But recent, from last 3-4 years, what's happening, the client server architecture has been modified in terms of technology to simplify the technology. So now there is no single server. So there is no concept of a single server, right? So now they have so many microservices available to fulfill one particular application, and there is lots of communication happening between one client to different systems, and each system has its own complexity. Each system has its own you know uh, technology stack. So day by day developer is getting into more problems. So I'll show you the next picture so that you can understand the difficulty of a developer, right? Say that we'll take a simple example. Assume that your developer is developing one of the mobile application, and to develop that he has to consume a lot of services, right? It's not that he can develop everything by his own, right? There are few services which are already available, which he has to use, and there are a couple of databases which he has to connect and show the data, and also there is a record management system which he has to connect, right? So assume that now this mobile application is built on Java. Now the basic skill of developer will be Java, right? So if he is developing an application using Java programming language, then he must be a Java developer, which means he must have very good knowledge in Java but not in any other programming languages. But what if this microservice is developed on .NET? What if this is developed in Python? What if this is developed in something else? What if this is SQL, I mean MS SQL? And what if this is a PostgreSQL? And what if this is developed using the blob storage, algorithm. So now this Java developer must aware of all these programming languages, all these databases, and all these blob storage algorithms to connect to them, provide the request. Once the response has arrived, he has to convert that again to Java, isn't it? Because all this application was built on is in Java. So whatever the response that this service gives, he has to again convert that into Java and then give. So what exactly the problem that you guys see here in this architecture? Is it easy for the developer to create the applications, or it's hard to create the applications?
It's hard.
Exactly. So it's a very complex process, right? So if I want to be a Java developer and if I want to create one complete application, then I have to aware of so many technologies. So instead of concentrating on the business of the application, I have to concentrate more on the communication. So to simplify this process, they found one of the easiest way called API model, right? So this is the simplest model. Doesn't matter how many clients you are developing and doesn't matter how many services that you have to consume, everything will be connected to an API, which is acts as an interface for your programming. For your application programming, this this acts as an interface, which means you don't need to worry about in which programming languages all these services built and which type of SQL this database is, whether it is a Microsoft SQL or Azure based SQL, or it doesn't matter how to query it, how to get the results or anything. You will have a single point of contact, which we call it as an API. You will be just giving a call to the API, and API will take care of communicating to the right service, get the response, and convert that to a unified response, which can be understandable by any client, right? For example, JSON. So you give a request, a HTTP request. API will route that request to the specific service. It will get the response, and then it will give the response to the specific clients. So now whoever the developer, the whole services behind it will get abstracted, which means he doesn't know in which languages they have developed it, how complex that service is, and in which format that response will be. He don't need to aware of any of that. API will take care of all that process. So it basically gives you a bridge to talk to any service and understand what the service is replying, right? So if you clearly want to understand it, assume that you are in a group of people and you know one language, but other people doesn't understand your language. Everybody has their own language to speak. Will that be a good environment to communicate and express your feelings? Right? It's not possible. But assume there is another group where everybody knows what the other people are speaking, right? Then it will be a good conversation that you can make and understand what the other people is saying. So that is nothing but the API. Okay. So this give a proper bridge to communicate to other services. So this is the one of the top model that every application is following. They will build the services. On top of the service, they build the APIs, and they will let the world know that they have APIs to serve the data. Now, whoever want to create the applications on top of it, they can just consume those APIs, get the data, and show that data in their applications. To give a real-time example, right? Let's take Swiggy. Okay, so we more or less on every day we use this food service applications. It could be either Zomato or Swiggy or any other applications, right? And most of the times what we do, what we don't even observe, right? Even though we are into software, the simple points that we ignore is, so there are when you search the restaurants, it will show the restaurants which are near 5 to 6 kilometers around you. And the moment that you place the order, you can track whether it's packed or whether it's on the way, whether it is near to you. We can track every bit of it, right? So how the Swiggy is doing this, right? Because Swiggy doesn't have a satellite which has, which provides those tracking services, isn't it? It doesn't have any satellite or any communication that built. Then how it's making? So what, to make it simple, what Swiggy did, they had a they partnered with Google. Google has a Google Maps API, right? Which has everything to provide the directions. So apart from that, they have two more APIs which are called Google Maps Distance Matrix API, Google Maps Places API. Using these two APIs from anybody's client, it can identify the restaurants within 5 kilometers radius, and using directions API, a delivery boy can find your, can have your directions. It could be either through transit, biking, driving, or just walking. It will provide you the directions and he will reach. So if you see, the developer of a Swiggy, he doesn't need to worry about how to build the maps, because maps are already available with Google. They just partnered. Now Google has to provide those information to Swiggy. And think here, Google might have developed that maps in different ways, right? Assume that there is no API even in this space. So Google might have used, a .NET or Java or any other programming language to build those services. But how can they give those services to the world in a unified way if there is no API? So it's not possible. So that is the reason why even Google uses APIs to provide the data to the external clients. Now, Swiggy, what it does, it will take a subscription, Google API subscription for a month, for a year, whatever the cost basis may be, and Google will allow you to use that API, right? Now, Swiggy will send the request and Google will give you the response, and that response they will show it to you in your phone. So now the communication has become easy, and even the apps can be built in a very less time. This all become possible just because of the APIs. Okay, just because of these interfaces. So that's why we call it as application programming interface. To program your application, you need an interface to serve the data, which is nothing but an API. So if you want to one more example, I can say YouTube. We use YouTube, you know throughout the day most of the time, right? But even it uses its own API. So what you have seen in the before, so the client was developed by some other company, and it is using vendor's API who is giving as a subscription. But now if you see YouTube, YouTube has its own APIs. This is another model, right? So either you can consume the APIs which were built by others as a paying subscription, or you can build APIs for yourself for your application, right? So if you look at these APIs, most of the data that you are seeing in your app is served using these APIs. For example, you might be subscribed to some channels. So whenever you say my subscribe, whenever you click on my subscribe channels, it has to display all your subscribe channels. And where that data will be stored, it will be stored in a database. But they don't call the database, they'll call the channels API, and the channels API will take care of communicating to the database and getting the results, and that result will be showed on your screen. The same way they have subscriptions API, playlists API, activities API, search API, and YouTube data API. So YouTube data API is a crucial API which serves the streaming of the data. Okay. So even if you want to know more number of list of Google APIs, you can click it here. I can show you. So if you see under data API, you have so many APIs that they have listed: captions, channel banners, channels, comments API, members API, playlist items, search, subscriptions, thumbnails. So they have so many APIs built to make the communication better, right? Now, once they build the APIs, now it's become very easy to program your application. Whatever the data that you want, you just call to the specific API that will give you the data, and you just load that data into your application. I hope you guys understand the the importance of API in software industry, right? So now, as we know, the next part is testing that APIs, right? So developer will just create that APIs. Now, how to test it? So these are all the top 15 API testing tools available in the market. Okay, so there is it's this list is mix of both free and as well as paid license. Okay, and some of them are command line and some of them has the UI. Okay, so those are like we have Catalan, APG, Air Fortress, Soap UI, Karate, Console, JMeter, Postman, Rest Assured, Airborne, Azertile. There are many tools available. This is just a top 15. There are thousands of tools available, right? Because APIs, it's mostly backend driven. So it's very easy to create any kind of clients like this. So that is why there are more number of tools. When you check with UI automation tools, the list is very small. So we have like a PyTest, Selenium, UFT, etc., etc. But for automating APIs, we have large number of tools available because it's backend services, and all you need is a just interface to give a request and get the response. That is why we have so many tools. And among these tools, what I have personally chosen is Postman and Rest Assured. So if you know these two tools, you can learn any of these tools. So it doesn't matter whether your project is using, you know, whatever the tool that they have, they follow the same architecture like these two tools. So if you understand these two, you can spend an additional day to learn any of these other tools, right? And if you ask me what are the different features that these two have, I mean, the reasons for selecting these two tools are because of this. When you take a Postman tool, I basically use it for the manual testing. When your application is just kick-started, and if your developer is asking you to quickly check the API is working or not, this is the best tool, Postman. You can either add it as a Chrome plugin to your browser, or it's already available as a standalone application also. You can either install it as a standalone application or just use it as a Chrome plugin, or you can directly log into Chrome browser itself. So there are multiple ways to access this application. Okay, and more or less, this is a UI based tool, which means it will have a proper UI. Right, it's not a command line. It will have a proper UI so that it will make your job easy to test it, right? And it's basically good for exploratory testing and as well as functional and automation testing. Even though it helps automation testing, I still use it as a manual but not automation because of there are other complexities. For automation, we will be using Rest Assured. Okay, and the Postman tool is very easy to use, and it supports all the communication, as I mentioned, right, from client to the API and API to the services. All the communication will be happening through a unified data format called either XML or JSON. And this Postman support both the formats in uh, in data format supported. And even you can make a collection of test cases. We call it as a group of test case, right? Say these are smoke tests, these are sanity tests, these are regression tests. You can also group them using this tool. First you can create your test cases, later you can group them and execute the group of test cases together. So that concept of collectioning and grouping is possible using Postman. So these are very key features which makes Postman as the best preference for the manual testing. Okay, and then rest assured, I choose it as an automation tool, right? And if you see, this is the first choice for most of the people. The reason being, it's developed in Java. If you know Java, right, you can definitely choose rest assured. It's a very simple library, right? Even if you don't know Java, anyway, in this course we will be covering that. But it is a very simple, Ja- uh, you know, Java-based library which helps you to automate your APIs. And just like Postman, Rest Assure also supports parsing both XML and JSON responses. So these are little technical terms. Once we get into the basics of API, you can understand this statement better. Okay. And Bdd syntax. This is also one of the important feature when it comes to rest assured. So BDD is nothing but behavior driven development. So whenever somebody reads your test, they should be able to understand your test properly. It shouldn't be too technical. That is where the rest assured stands out. Even though you're writing in Java, you can literally read the test that you're writing. So it will be like, given when I send the request, I should get 200 response. Do you see anywhere the code in this sentence that I have said? Given I have given I send request, I should get response as 200. This looks like a English statement, but this is a Java code. So this is how the rest assured helps you to write more readable test rather than technical test. You'll be writing more of a readable, test. So if you want, I can show you a simple example. So this is, let me just increase the size. So if you see here, this is the simple automation test that I have written. So given this is my URL and this is my base path, and this is my endpoint, then once I give the request, then it should return the response. Do you see anywhere the technicality, or anywhere the complexity of your request? This is just like, you are asking in English, so this is just like a plain English language. So this is the beauty of rest assured. You can write the BDD type of test case using Java itself. You don't need any other layer. Your test layer itself act as a BDD layer that anybody can read. Okay. So we'll understand more about this BDD concept, but definitely it will make your test more readable, right? And then once you create the source code, you can share your test cases with your developer. They will be adding those test cases in their repository. So now it looks like a single source code, but it will have both developer code and as well as your tester code. So this is why everybody recommends rest assured. You can write the technical tests in more readable format. It's very easy to maintain. As it developed in Java, you can enable any kind of framework, any kind of reporting, and you can integrate your test code with your developer code. The tool has so many advantages. I prefer rest assured for automation, Postman for manual. Any questions, guys?
No.
And as I mentioned, once you learn these two tools, you can learn any other for a reason. Even if your organization or a project is not using these tools, if it is using any other tool, you can definitely learn it with your own self knowledge. Because you have once you get a practical knowledge on these two tools, you can easily understand the architecture of any tool, how it's making the conversation work. Then you can easily understand any other tool. Okay. Yeah. So before we wind up, just give a few more details about the course. So basically, we will be using a tool called. This is one of the most used. open source application, meaning free application that anybody can use for teaching, right? So you can join your as a student. It has many features. So every class will be recorded, and those recordings will be available under this particular. And the best thing is you can access the class from mobile or from Chrome. So it's possible in either way. All the recordings will be available here. I can prepare the tests and I'll be giving you the test here, which you'll be taking. And if you have any issue installation, or when you're writing the test, or when you're not able to understand the topic correctly, you can directly with me. Whenever you chat, it will give me notification, and I will be able to respond. Okay. And if there are any announcements, I'll be able to make it here. If I want to give any homework which you can complete, and if I have any materials to share, all the study materials I can upload it here. Get notification, you can download it, or you can view it in the app itself. So this has lots of teacher features, which will definitely help us in engaging and communicating, right? And it will be available 24/7, so you can chat with me anytime, and you can call. And when it comes to automation, GitHub to store all the code that we write. Every day we will be practicing some code, and I'll that code to you. So let me show you how that happens. And once you are a confirmed member course, I'll be adding you to this particular organization, giving you the access. Then you will be access to all the code. Yeah, be having access to this particular repository. You can see all the test cases that we create every. You will have access. You can practice it offline. So whenever it's done, you can come here. You can check the, and you can also try practicing the same way. So for any kind of document, everything is online. Once you get, you can start using that code. You can also create your own project GitHub, and you can manage it also. I'll also explain how that happens. Okay, so these are the two things. And when it comes to automation, we specifically using Java programming language and Eclipse as the IDE. So I'll explain everything. What is IDE? How you can install it. So you will get all this to set up and get started. But these are the basic that we will be concentrating on. Get ready. From Monday onwards, we'll deep into APIs to understand what is API, what are approaches that we have to follow, what exactly we have, what is not possible to test, how to test it, how to test it using automation, how to create, to share the report with your manager. From starting to the delivery, I'll be explaining. Okay. Any questions, guys?
I have
So,
one
Venkat,
question.
for how many?
Go ahead, Ashwin.
Yeah. So, for how many days you will be taking Java session?
It is 1 week, because I'm mainly concentrating on essentials, not on the complete Java, because our whole concept shouldn't be subtracted testing. So that is why I have limited the Java code. Only the concepts that you will be using in real time, and as well as in those concepts I'll be covering. It's for 1 week.
Venkat, I have one
Venkat, we
question.
would
Like,
be able to. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, Venkat, would we be able to complete the course within 1 month?
Yes, that is a plan. 4 week
Okay.
course. Uh, to complete week course, I need help from you guys as well. Whenever I give a task, you should finish on time. So if you can do that, then you can understand the advanced. If you don't practice, then you'll be able to not understand those concepts. So it's all within us to complete sooner. Even we can complete within 4 weeks if we're able to spend some time to understand as well as practice.
Okay.
Venkat, I'm very new to this API testing. Can I understand this all in 4 weeks?
So the API, it's the core concept is understanding its architecture, which I'll be spending a week explaining the basic concepts, very basic concepts, for real-time
Oh,
examples. So once you understand that core concept, you can understand any advanced concept in it. So that is the reason I doesn't matter whether you have a background on test or not, you'll be able to understand the concepts within 4 weeks.
okay.
Yeah. Okay. So the timing is fixed between 8. Even if you miss some part of it or if you miss the, don't worry about it. As I mentioned, all the class and it will be uploaded to the recordings. So day, whenever you have free time, you can catch up from that video.
Okay.
Any other questions, guys, or good to go Monday?
So
Nothing from
Venkat,
me.
I have so I strictly have time for 1 month only because of some personal restrictions. So I'm requesting you to focus more on REST APIs or REST assured, so that I will get the more
Sure.
benefited.
Sure, Ashwini. So to give you a information, right? So there are two types of APIs. I mean, we'll get to know more deep. There are two types of APIs. One is REST, another one is SOAP. Is almost disappeared because of its complex is using. That is the reason why I'm not teaching that SOAP, but I'm telling you what is SOAP and how it's different from REST. But we'll be concentrating on the REST APIs, which are like 90% of the organizations are using. And I can assure you complete within 4 months because we have a strict plan. We'll go accordingly.
Thanks, Venkat. And the classes will be 5 days a week and holiday on Saturday, Sunday, right?
Exactly. So we'll be teaching only on weekdays because I know that we are engineers. So I strictly go with weekdays, and you can have weekends to practice. Any doubts on weekends? You can. There is a option called doubt. If two or three of you have same kind of, I can create one session on either Saturday or Sunday. You can join to clarify your doubts. So that is the reason we'll be teaching 2 days to catch up and practice, or doubts we can clarify in that 2 days. The timing is morning 8 to 9. Okay.
Okay,
So
Venkat.
yeah. So yeah, I'll be giving you the notifications through group or our teachment announcements. So them, and I would request to keep a laptop for you to practice. You from mobile to understand the theoretical concepts, but when it comes to practice, you need one laptop. I mean, configuration doesn't matter. Basic laptop, it's fine. I'll help you individually. I'll give you a session first to set up the tools and everything. If you have any difficulties, or you can reach me in WhatsApp. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for your time. I don't want to take any much of your time. So we'll start from my, and let your friends or anybody know if they are interested in this demo video with you. We'll start the classes from Monday. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Keep learning,
Thank
and
you.
let me know any other questions.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.